We learned this week not to mess with the buns in Japan.
Ooh, I can't wait to see where this
Interesting.
goes.
Okay. Tell me more.
Let's see where this goes.
We learned that a shopper in Fukuoka had been run in by Plod after lightly poking a sesame and cream cheese muffin through its packet in order to determine the firmness of the breadly comestible, and then left the shop without making a purchase. We learned that this was sufficient to get the bap-prodding ne'er-do-well arraigned for criminal damage. So, and let's get all these out of the way, she's toast. Oh, we'll need to pay some dough. It's a crummy situation. We're on a roll. Meanwhile, on the American continent, we learned that there are presidents who cheerfully scam their own supporters out of their savings. Listeners anticipating some sort of extremely clever bait-and-switch device may now award themselves a point. For we learn this not of the country on the American continent of which you may, all things considered, have been thinking, but another. We learned from Argentina that cryptocurrency may not be an absolutely rock-solid, reliable investment.
No,
I'll be
really?
damned.
Oh,
Whoa.
that blows my
Whoa.
mind.
No way. Blow me down.
We are indebted, though not as much as some Argentinians, for this lesson to Argentinian president and readily imaginable bass player in a Stranglers tribute band, Javier Milei. We learned that President Milei had promoted from his lofty position a cryptocurrency called Libra, the price of which accordingly lurched abruptly up shortly before, as is very often the way with the price of things which do not in any meaningful sense exist, plummeted back down. We did learn, however, that unlike certain countries on the American continent which may have come to mind earlier, Argentina does still have some sort of at least semi-functioning system of checks and balances, and that therefore President Milei faces possible impeachment and or criminal charges over this apparent instance of what we learned is known as rugging, an abbreviation of rug pulling, evocative of a red carpet being rolled out to investors before being whisked from beneath their feet. A weirdly satisfying sound effect, that one. Can I get some general muttered agreement? Anyway, we learned from the country on the American continent of which you probably were thinking earlier
Oh no.
that everything is going just swimmingly. We learned that, on balance, the current cost-cutting crusade conducted by annoying billionaire Elon Musk's weirdo interns at the Department of Government Efficiency, or Doge, which isn't a government department and has a thus far iffy record where efficiency is concerned, might have been more prudently entrusted to a chimpanzee with a dartboard. We learned that among the federal employees arbitrarily canned by Doge were staff of the Department of Energy attached to the National Nuclear Security Administration, for whom, we learned, the clue in the name was insufficient protection.
Under its cost-cutting plans, Doge requested the layoffs without knowing that the Energy Department staffers were specialized in handling America's nuclear weapons.
We did learn, however, that not all of the mass sackings of federal employees were acts of spite or stupidity. Some were just sort of mishaps.
NBC News reports this weekend the Agriculture Department accidentally fired several employees working on the government's response to the bird flu outbreak.
Probably fine, not like any transmissible viruses jumping from animals to humans have caused us any problems lately. But we learned that if US President Donald Trump appeared serenely disinterested in the spectacle of the wires being ripped out of the federal government he is supposed to be leading, he had his reasons, i.e. being preoccupied with foreign policy, in which realm we learned from the great sage that the war launched by Russia against Ukraine for... let's check again... no good reason whatsoever, was in fact all Ukraine's fault.
You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
Which begs any number of punchlines about the headache the US could have spared itself in the 1940s had it simply ceded Hawaii to Japan after Pearl Harbor, though the chances that this is what Donald Trump genuinely thinks have to be assessed as non-zero. We'll be needing the General Muttered Agreement crew back in. But we learned that the making great again of America continued. We learned that, on the instructions of the new administration, the US Department of Defense, which might have been assumed to have one or two more pressing concerns, has embarked on an ideological purge of the libraries of the schools it operates for the children of service personnel and DoD employees overseas. And we learned that one subversive tract, which may shortly be heading for the bonfire, is...
Who cared about having 1 million freckles when she had 1 million friends? And maybe that mom was right, and her freckles would go away a little. And Freckleface Strawberry really was like everybody else.
An excerpt there from Freckleface Strawberry, read by its author, the actor Julianne Moore. We learned that the DoD invigilators protecting military children from this sordid and depraved brainwashing have placed Freckleface Strawberry, and we quote, under review. Come on, lads, it's not that complicated. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Muller.